Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
According to Fannie Mae, mortgage rates will fall to 4.5% in 2023. That's the estimate from Fannie Mae, and here's what that means for home buyers.
Right. So home buyers have choices, right? You can buy a house now because there's a lot more inventory. Maybe it's a more buyer-friendly environment where you get to negotiate maybe some closing costs or some things that you couldn't have had in the past. And then if mortgage rates do drop, then you can refinance down the road. So that's a possibility for buyers.
Consumers shouldn't necessarily delay a home purchase if they find an affordable home they like now. So affordable, and you find it now. So let's talk about that real quick. In theory, if interest rates start falling, people get more excited about buying, and the housing inventory that's available could disappear pretty quick like it did in 2020, 2021, right?
Right.
So let's say you find a house you really like, the price seems really good, but you don't like your 5.8% interest rate or whatever that you're being offered right now. But it's maybe the cheapest the house has been in a few years. So what's the strategy? How would you do that?
Well, if it makes sense for you and it's within your budget, maybe it's not your quite the mortgage payment that you would like or the interest rate that you would like, but it's within your budget, it's the right house, you've been waiting for this house, you might consider taking the leap and buying the house. The thing is that, remember, you're going to have the house long term. The interest rate may not be long term if things change and if interest rates do drop. We've talked about interest rates before. Fannie Mae says that they're going to be somewhere in the fours next year, and that's great. We would love to see that. We don't know what they're going to do, but if your interest rate is in the upper fives now and it's going to be in the mid to low fours next year and you can refi, that might be an option.
Average rates are expected to be 4.7 and 4.4% in the first and fourth quarters of 2023, respectively, down from 5.2% in Q2 this year, according to Fannie Mae. These are estimates. They don't really know, but what they do is they have an economic model, they look long-term forecasting, and then they compare it to stuff that happened in the past. We know that right now the Fed has been trying to combat inflation, but then we also know that usually 18 months in is when rates start dropping. So the Fed started taking action in December. That's about 10 months ago. We got about 8 months more, but then typically what happens is rates start falling. And then the equity markets and the treasury markets are forward-looking. So if the Fed comes out and says, hey, we're going to cut 2% off interest rates over the next year by having these rate declines, the mortgage markets take effect almost immediately and price that in. That's why interest rates went up so fast, even though with the Fed raised rates the last time, interest rates didn't change because it's already all priced in.
Right, and something kind of really think about. So let's say that you find a house now. So you close on the house sometime at the end of 2022, and you're paying a higher interest rate. And let's say that the markets don't really have a whole lot going on until the end of 2023. So now you're paying a higher interest rate for a year. But if you're a tenant right now, and you get to deduct that mortgage interest all of next year, it may still be a wash for you as far as what it's actually costing you by the time you factor that in. So there are a lot of different things to consider. Todd's point is that on average, about 18 months into it, the Fed starts lowering the rates again. So that's foreseeable that sometime next year, maybe in the second half of the year even, we'll see interest rates go down. We don't know. The Fed doesn't know.
Fannie Mae doesn't know.
Fannie Mae doesn't know. But, we're just kind of going by what's happened in the past. What we've generally said is that you have to kind of look at your particular situation, right? Look at all of it. Look at what your deduction is going to look like. Look at what your rent is. Look at what your quality of life is where you're renting versus where you'd be buying. Is this the house that you've always wanted and in the location you've wanted? And you may not have this opportunity at a house like this or this house a year from now when maybe interest rates are more favorable. Those are all things to consider.
Rates averaged 5.55% the week of June 23rd, according to data from Freddie Mac. That's significantly up from 3.22% in January. Okay, so even though the Fed didn't raise rates 2% in those 2 months, the mortgage, they talked about their plan for the year, and that's why rates went up. That's a slight decline from 5.81% high point in June. Okay, so here's the thing. People are saying, why would anyone go buy now? Because we know prices are going to fall. Well, there's two reasons. First of all, we don't know that because all the people who are jumping on the bandwagon of prices falling 40% more, right? Where were they in 2020 said prices would go up 40%? I want to see the video where they predicted, since they're so smart, that prices would go up 40%. They didn't do it, right? Everyone's been, if you make market crash videos for 10 years, eventually it'll be right, okay? This time I don't think so. The other thing is everyone is not sitting around on a ton of cash waiting to go buy a house. There are people, like you said, they just finished renting. They've been in their job for 2 years. They've got W-2s for the whole time. They've talked to a lender. They're qualified. The interest rate's not great. It's not as good as it was a year ago. And they have some ability to negotiate now because there's 5 houses in the subdivision and only 1 or 2 maybe have offers instead of 6 months ago that if you had 5 houses, they all had multiple offers, they were all over list price.
Right.
And you may not want to pass up that opportunity. Now, we're not saying run out and buy a house because that's what we get accused of all these videos as we're pumping the market. We're just saying that people can make YouTube videos and talk about the market being worse because they're trying to get listings, and that's reasonable. But Fannie Mae is saying that they expect mortgage rates to be down. Does that mean you wait a year? Maybe you wait a year. But if the timing is right for you now to buy a house, you buy a house.
Right. And the other thing to consider, there are multiple mortgage products out there. Like I saw one the other day, I think it's called a 321.
It was FHA 321.
Yeah. So the way that works is you have a lower payment in the first year, it goes up some in the second year, and it goes up again in the third year. So that's an option as far as getting into a house now, and then by the time mortgage rates hopefully come down more, you can refinance and keep that lower payment. Obviously, it impacts your equity, so we're not saying that that's the panacea, but it is an option. So talk with your mortgage person; they've got choices for you. Talk with your realtor; they can help you negotiate. Maybe a lender, a rate buy down from that's paid for by the seller. There are all kinds of tools out there that maybe you didn't have a few months ago that could make buying a home now make it more palatable for you than in the future. Everybody's situation is different, so talk to the people that you trust, like your mortgage person and your agent, and they'll be able to help you.
What do you think about interest rates? Leave us a comment. Like I said, nobody knows for sure because there's a lot happening. It's not just, you have the Fed, you have government spending, you have the equity markets, you have buyer demand, you have mortgage companies, you have all this stuff happening, and everybody's trying to figure it out. It's a very dynamic market. It's probably the most dynamic real estate has been at least in a decade.
Well, I think part of it is it's a dynamic market, and part of it is that we have more information now than we've ever had. And this information overload is causing people's brains to explode, basically.
Yeah,
and I think that's a lot of what's happening is we have so much information that it makes it very difficult to see a clear path forward.
All right. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us your comment, share the video, and we will see you on the next video.
Bye.
Bye.